Hello! Welcome to the third part in a series. That's right, this is part 3. Here's a link to part 1. You should probably start there. If you've already watched part 1, here's a link to part 2. And if you don't like cards, they are probably going to be in the comment and or description. Have a nice time and happy watching! Last we left off our duo of adventurers, things had become quite dire. With the town soon to be overrun with vampire hunters, Yvette had felt her hand was forced. Finally, the holy child she traveled with knew of her nature. And yet still, the blessing of the goddess once again kept her safe. The priest that had appointed himself with looking after them had given them a task. You could not fight the vampire lord still, but perhaps you could find the one thing that would allow him to be more of a menace, to be a sunwalker, and keep it from him. It has recently been disappeared, so you might have to find it yourself. And so the party left for the temple where the Prismaquin had once been kept. On the way, however, something curious happened. They had recently entered the forest at the heart of which lay the temple. Now, without a need to lie and hide her true nature, Yvette informed the yokel that she was going to find something to eat. Not pretty, not pleasant, necessary. They understood. After all, the girl just ate animals, and seemed very averse to feeding on people. She ventured off into the forest, and when she tried to return, the path wound and twisted in ways that she did not remember. She had been through here, but when she walked past, she found herself at the same crossing again. Space seemed almost nonsensical. Wow, she'd really gotten herself lost, huh? She walks and walks and walks, and eventually the trees begin to twist and turn. The moonlight stops being visible, and everything becomes pitch black. Not a problem for her, as she can see in the dark, but certainly disconcerting. At some point she looks up, and there are no stars. The trees keep twisting, and they twist and twist until eventually they are no more trees. They cease being organic entirely, and they begin to look almost like buildings, like the idea of building. They lack in warmth, and the windows are black, and there's probably nothing behind those doors. As she walks among the collapsing nonsensical idea of building, she comes to the end of the path, and at the end of the path, there is a house. Her house. Though she's never seen it before, it's hers and she knows it. Almost like a trance, she reaches for the door handle and twists and opens the door. And behind the door there is nothing, and she suddenly is in an empty field. No stars, no moon, nothing. There is a boy, though, herding a singular goat. The boy refuses to provide any answers. When she snaps back to reality, she's holding a small rodent, and there's blood dripping on the sides of her mouth. She was feeding, almost as though she'd never embarked on the path to begin with. When she is found, the godchild is there and concerned. She was just staring off into nowhere. She explains where she was, but she wasn't. She was just standing there. This will happen again. Eventually, the party find their way to the temple of the Prismaquin, and though they don't really find anything that worthwhile in their investigation, they are informed that a wax seal was left behind. A moon between a set of fangs. Makes sense. It's him, the inheritor of the Devoured Moon. He stole it. If only they'd known then when they last ran into him. Oh well. That only leaves one place to go. He resides in a black castle on northern Riverdania. It is as easy, or as hard, as going to his black castle and taking the Prismaquin back. Perhaps by stealing it, perhaps by force. They will decide that when they're there. Funnily enough, the time and the opportunity present themselves far before they need to. For one night, who tries to steal from them but the inheritor themselves? This time the party's ready to go. Yvette isn't pretending to be asleep, and the godchild is ready. They apprehend the thief and tie him, and they demand that he return the Prismaquin. Oh, yeah, that, whatever quin thing, yeah, it's at the Black Castle. You can have it back if you promise to let me go. A deal is struck then. He will be released as soon as the Prismaquin is returned. For now, he is coming to the Black Castle. A couple things are discussed while travel is happening, the inheritor's name being one of them. His name is Jem. They're not calling him Inheritor of the Devour Moon for the entire travel. Jem. Jem de Carge, actually. And that surname strikes Yvette as familiar. That is Mulvine's surname as well. He's Mulvine Docarge. It's a variation of the same surname. He is, as it turns out, a relative of Jem's, and not one he is very happy to hear about. Yvette informs him of his uncle's disappearance at the hands of her master. Jem can't really be asked. Yuko, however, is quite interested, for they know the other side of the coin. She was guarding the temple when a white-haired man, scrawny and scraggly, came in. Turns out, he's a vampire spawn, and he's making off with the priest. And she tried to fight him, but couldn't stop him. That description is familiar to Yvette. That's Telsi's, that's one of the other spawn that Thusha keeps. She also relays what happened that fateful night, and how Mulvine is probably somewhere with Thusha. Well, whether that be dead or something worse, she doesn't know. She quite frankly hopes that he's dead. The alternative isn't great. Jem comes to sympathize with Yvette. She's a very sorry thing, and a very tragic being. She means very little harm, even when her urges get the best of her. And she's so troubled. Not that it's his problem, but she is. The house also makes another appearance. This time, it looks like a temple. And as Yvette enters it, her childhood home, there's food on the stove, nice and warm, and signs of life. The wine bottles her parents buy are half drunk, and the beds aren't quite neatly made. It's a lived-in house. They're probably going to come back anytime soon. She helps herself to the food on the stove, and it doesn't upset her stomach like non-blood food usually does. She runs herself a warm bath, and she lays down in between where her parents usually sleep on their bed. They'll be back anytime soon, and she misses them so dearly. When she comes to, none of that is real. But she feels a little more calm for it. This will happen again. Eventually the trio make their way to the Black Castle, and on the top floor, Jem keeps the Prismaquin and other such creatures of its ilk. Except it's not the Prismaquin he keeps, it's the Noctaquin, its opposite. Instead of being the representation of the perception of light, it is the representation of its absence, of darkness. And not capable of making a vampire anything close to a Sunwalker. It's a careless mistake, really. He heard quin and figured he kept the real thing, when they were looking for its counterpart. Hopeless, the party decide to rest for the night, and Yuko and Jem manage to convince Yvette to actually sleep for once. They lay her in a warm plush bed, and they take the others in the room. Jem also steals beds, it appears. And they rest. Come the next morning, they realize that the Black Castle is fairly close to the city of Azarain, the headquarters of the vampire hunters. With no more quests to go on and no more ideas to try, they have no options, they feel, except trying to talk to them. Hopefully it won't get Yvette killed. Their base of operations is a lighthouse, and though the hunters at the door can tell what Yvette is now that she's up close, they let her in. She's Pretty sure she's just walked into a death trap. As they climb the levels of the lighthouse, they find more and more people training and learning. Vampire anatomy, steak production, holy water fountains. Yvette feels nothing but disgusted with herself. Upon arriving to the top of the tower, they are met with a group of vampire hunters, but they are also met with the leader. The woman is surprised, almost pleasantly so. She's most definitely curious. One of his children, here, willingly. Something in Yvette snaps and is set loose. How dare this woman call her the child of her master? How dare she imply he has any degree of ownership over her anymore? Furthermore, she demands answers. Why is she trying to exterminate his innocent victims? She has done nothing wrong. Not willingly, not that he hasn't made her. It's his fault. And like her, there are many, many others. So why? Something about Yvette's questioning is, at the very least, intriguing to the woman, who thus is willing to offer an explanation. Have you heard of the city of Abragar? It used to be in northern Viridiana before a meteorite fell on it. She was there when it did, as was Thusha, as was Ezrit. They were all friends, you see, an adventuring party. And when the meteorite fell, she gazed upon it, and it burned her eyes so she no longer can see. But it did show her something, and so the last thing she ever saw, with her own very eyes, was a premonition of the future to come. A future where Thusha's children would ravage the land, wild and uncontrolled. She could not let that future come to be. Furthermore, vampires had taken something deeply, deeply important from her. Her brother. Yvette's mind flashed to the very familiar Spawn. Also white-haired, also pale. Oh. Nevertheless, Yvette was furious. How dare this woman rob her of choice again? She, and everybody else like her, have already been denied the choice to be what they wished. They have been made into this against their will. And how dare this woman decide that she has seen the future and that she knows what they are, what's in their heart, and what they will be doing. Let her decide to go against that prophesized future. Give her the choice to not be a savage. All of them. Do not judge any of them for a choice that they didn't make. And it works. The hunter lowers her weapon. Very well then. What are you going to do about this? Easy. Yvette is going to kill Thusha Dance. But that's not enough, she realizes now. It just isn't enough. She's going to kill him, and she's going to find everybody he has ever hurt. And she is going to help. Some of them are beyond saving. Maybe. But she has to try. The hunter, in turn, is very amused. And so, Jaweta, of the Vampire Hunters of Jaweta, is going to let a Spawn walk away. She's fine, actually. She means well. She's very interesting. And they have a common enemy in Thusha Dance. Yvette is going to kill him someday. She has forever to keep trying, unlike Jaweta. Jaweta chuckled at that. What do you mean, she doesn't have forever? Yvette and Yuko look at her a little closer. She doesn't look a day over her mid-20s, and yet still, she traveled with Thusha when he was alive, and he's, been a vampire for decades. Matter of fact, she looks exactly as she did in the painting in Ezra's house. She smiles. She has fangs. She too is a vampire. You see, on that fateful day, yes, the same day she lost her sight, Thusha had taken her and Ezrich to the city of Abragar. He was looking for something and hadn't quite been honest what he was looking for. The tomb of the first vampire. The origin of vampirism. a space completely saturated with necromancy and abyssal energy. When the meteor fell, it trapped them inside, and trapped in there for goodness knows how long, it changed them. By the time they emerged, it was already too late. But if she changed, and Thusha changed, and they were traveling with the Ezrit, then that means that... Oh, finally they put it together. Yes, Ezrit too. As a matter of fact, she deposited the automata in front of his house, just in case he got any funny ideas about making spawn. He never did, for the record. But they saw him during the solstice out in the sun, and the only way to do that is with the... Oh, that's where the Prismaquin was, wasn't it? It appears that a visit to Ezrit is in order. Jaboita bids the party farewell, tells Yvette she'll see her soon, and gives her silvered weapon to match a Yukal's own, as well as some armor. She should really stop wearing acolyte robes. It is during the return trip to Talatana that Yvette learns a bit about how that mysterious house she keeps seeing and visiting functions. For one, all vampire houses are connected, as they are all part of a larger metaphysical house. She learns this fact when none other than Jaboita actually appears before her in her house. She can do that now. This, in turn, allows her to be a sort of mentor in vampirism to Yvette. She becomes somebody that Yvette trusts and tells her life story to, and somebody who very periodically tells her she needs to relax. It's important, it's good for the psyche, it helps you feel alive. Because we are alive. She also guides her through the mechanics of the house, at least as much as she knows. Every free vampire has a house. It is a way to keep the psyche in check, to allow them little pleasures that might not be quite as easy to obtain when they are in the waking world. Things like being in running water and eating food that isn't blood. Everybody's house resembles a safe place for them. It's modeled after some space that feels like home. Houses are for vampires that are free. Vampires with no master, or whose master is dead, or whose connection to their master has been severed. Yvette is the latter, as Thusha is still alive. Presumably, because of divine intervention. Mulvine was right. The house keeps the vampire in check by keeping them relaxed and by giving them a place to be safe. You see, if a vampire goes cornered for too long, they become more savage and more dangerous. Vampires and people are not so different. As a matter of fact, if you ask Jaboita, they are the same. Vampires are people. The only problem, of course, is that a vampire that goes out of check is a danger to everybody else. On their way back to Talatana, they encounter a bloodied tent. They rush inside to see if anybody is injured, if they need help, if something's wrong, and they find corpses of people they recognize. The people that were looking after Harani. They're bitten all over. Yvette recognizes those bite marks. She is intimately familiar with them. Harani did this. What happened here? The party arrived to Talatana, and they tell Ezrit that no, there was no luck finding the Prismaquin. But he already knew that, didn't he? He deflects. Yvette, in turn, produces a mirror from her pack and angles it at him. He has no reflection in the mirror. He very quickly becomes furious. Leave his house at once. They try to stand their ground, demand some answers, but he insists, raising his voice. Yvette flinches and her mind flashes to somebody else, and she can't help but sputter. You sound just like him. This only serves to enrage him more. This will be the last time the party speaks with Ezrit. As if that wasn't enough misfortune for Yvette, she meets Harani again, but something's wrong. She looks fevered, dangerous. She looks past her, like she doesn't quite recognize her, and she hurls insults at her. Yvette begs her to calm down. She refuses. She
says many things, most of which barely make sense. But she is furious and terrified. Yvette begs for her to come with. She also refuses. Desperate, she attempts to apprehend her, and this only really serves to make matters worse. Realizing that, she gives Harani a stake, control of the situation. Harani lunges at her, but misses by a wide margin. Yvette hopes it's on purpose. The second time, she knocks her to the floor, and it's Yuka who has to intervene. Harani isn't slain. Yvette would never allow it, but she scurries off into the night. What has become of her? This entire time, they've been working on a ticking clock. You see, Yuka receives their divine guidance by way of an angel. This angel has been demanding that a suitable replacement for the father of the Denzel congregation be found. They were hoping that perhaps, just perhaps, Mulvine had evaded Thusha and was in hiding, but no luck, so it's time to find a replacement. They travel the temples once again, and meet with the boy that had allowed Yvette to confess herself during her pilgrimage. Young and a bit inexperienced, but good heart and solid understanding of the faith. By order of the divine child, if he so wished, he was now entitled to be the father of Denzel. The boy was a little flustered, but agreed, and so was escorted to the city. Yvette, of course, did not particularly wish to return. Thusha was still in there, but they're less prepared than she would have wished, but maybe it was time to do something about it. Funnily enough, on the way there, they run into who else but Jem again, and pleadingly they ask if he will come with them, to help. He seems less than thrilled at the possibility of risking his life, but so long as he gets the deed to the manor once Thusha is killed, yeah, he will come. He also wants full permission to steal anything and everything in there. On the way to Denzel, though, something curious happens. The house makes its return, as always void and twisted and artificial and nonsensical, but familiar. And yet, the boy, who has been making his return ever so often, comes back. The first time Yvette met him, a shepherd with a goat. The next, decayed and sickly. The next, beheaded. And this time, the final time, a humanoid of body with a goat's head haphazardly put on top. She demands answers as she always does. He doesn't say anything. He never does. He does, however, bring her a present, as he sometimes does. A dagger. She refuses to take it. He doesn't speak, but the house often lets her know things she should know, and so she demands answers. He is furious that she is turning down his gift. Do you know what you are? Do you know what I am? He doesn't speak, but she knows it. Before her is perhaps not an avatar, but definitely some sort of communication from Orcus, Lord of the Undead, and creator of the vampire. She is a slave to his slave, and will always be. And when she inevitably is slain, her soul will join him. She doesn't deserve a choice. She doesn't have a choice. Yvette just stands her ground, tall, and tells him that she belongs to herself, that she is a slave to nobody, and that she is never losing her free will again. She comes to. She won't see the house again. The party make their way to the city, and they leave the father safely at the temple. Now then, it is time to prepare to attack the manor. Yvette knows it like the back of her hand and points out every entrance they could use. They choose to use a balcony. Through the balcony they make their way inside. Jem splits off to steal, and they decide to distract the house by starting a fire. The house, surprisingly enough, is almost entirely unstaffed. The spawn are nowhere to be seen. The only people they have to deal with are Thusha's biological children. and 3 handmaids turned by his wife. The party help them take refuge from the flames, and keep making their way down, 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 far below where the spawn are usually allowed. In the chamber in the basement, they find Thusha, his wife Lethka, and they're holding Gem. Behind them stands Mulvine, small, quivering, and eyes red. Yvette won't stand for this, and before they have any time to think really, strikes Thusha with the fury of 1,000 suns and a flurry of holy righteous magic. He wasn't expecting that. Belief in this world breeds magic, and it just looks like his meek little retainer has become quite a righteous, righteous woman with strong, steadfast beliefs. He is knocked back by the strike and lets Gem go. A fight commences. Gem, Iukal, and Yvette against Thusha, Lethka, and unfortunately Mulvine, seemingly now under her command. He is devastated, horrified, as his body is made to move without his will, and he's forced to lunge at his godchild protege and the girl he thought he'd lost. He doesn't get a choice though, does he? The fight is intense and down to the wire. And as a matter of fact, my DM has gone on record to tell us that he did not think we could get the outcome we got. But they do it. They do it. Yvette, Iukal, and Gem do it. They do not manage to stake the vampires, but they do manage to reduce them to nothing but a cloud of ash. And yes, that cloud of ash will be reborn if not dealt with, if not disposed from at a coffin, but before she gets away, Yvette pours her holy water on the cloud of Lethka, and that is her final moment. With nobody to control him, Mulvine is startled and shaking, but free. Gem is particularly indifferent, but the other two are overcome with emotion. Yuka has always been taught to despise vampires, but that's not what she was told. During the solstice, the first and only thing she was told was that she needed to forgive. It's starting to make sense now. Yvette, Mulvine, not all of them are terrible. They decide that today is not the day to seek out Thusha and finally end him. He's already putting himself back together, and they need to get somewhere safe. Much to his dismay, the safest place that they can think of is, well, maybe Gem's Black Castle. Mulvine could stay there a while. It's massive, so massive that he can explore it for days without having to worry about the sun. The trip back is arduous and complicated. Mulvine is far from cooperative. As far as he's concerned, death would be better than this, and he would very much appreciate it if you did not force him to continue existing. Yvette insists. She can't stand to lose him. She feels already guilty enough for what's happened to him. If she had behaved, then he wouldn't have been... well, you know. It was worth it, though. He is very sure that it was worth it. Look at her. She's still struggling, but she is at least somewhat more confident and content than when he saw her last. She's free now, and that matters to him, but he doesn't want to be this. Over the course of the travel, it's Iuka that first makes a breakthrough. They have found somebody to take his post, but he's new and inexperienced, and they'd appreciate it if he'd at least stick around for his training. Show him the ropes, and then we can discuss having him go. Mulvine thinks that this is actually agreeable. Another breakthrough is Yvette misses having sweets. As a living girl, she had a massive sweet tooth, and blood is hardly conducive. During the trip, she buys a big bag of sugar and tries to mix it with some blood, see if she can get some sort of caramel out of it or something. She hasn't cooked in ages, and consequently burns the entire thing. She's crying, but it's endearing and comedic, and it serves as proof that there is more to their unlife than just eating animals and avoiding being alive. They can want things and It might take a bit more work, but it can be done. The sugar is far too burnt, though. She promises him, however, that one day she's going to make sweets that they can eat, and they can share them. They travel during the day, because Thusha's giving chase, and it's the best way to stay safe, but it does include a rather contrived way of keeping Molting out of the sun. Whatever the case, they make it to the Black Castle, and the first night they sleep there, they realize that Thusha has been chasing far, far closer than they realize, and they are in deep trouble. They hole up for the night, and the next morning they take a boat across the lake to the city of Azarain. They make it to the vampire hunters, and they present the situation. While impressive that they took on 2 full-blooded vampires and didn't die, they can't help. They were not expecting to have to fight Thusha yet, and thus are all scattered across the country, and they haven't even prepared their material. At the very least, however, they can look after the very dazzled, very weakened Mulvine while the party tries to do something. The next night, they venture out into the woods, away from the population, and they use Yvette as bait. It is not Thusha that comes out to meet her, but Telsis. He expresses regret over what he's done to her. Well, he couldn't have helped it. Thusha controls all of them, and if he hadn't given up the information willingly, it would have been forced out of him, and he would have been punished. It's safer to just follow his whims. If you follow his whims, it's not great, but if you don't follow them, he makes you, and then punishes you. It's best to spare yourself the trouble. Yvette tells him that everybody else has left. He has no more control over them. He lost it that one night she left. Oh, but it's best to still listen to him because he's going to get it back. He has a plan for how he's going to get it back. And if I don't obey him now, well, I'll be punished when he gets control back. Yvette puts a hand on his shoulder and tells him that tonight she will slay Thusha Dance, and he does not have to listen to him ever again. So, go. Don't join him for the fight, and I promise that I will do my best, and he will die, and you won't have to listen to him again. Telsis hesitates, stands up, and leaves.
Thusha shows up shortly after.
Now allow me, if you will,
to break character for a second because I need to relay the real Thusha dance fight experience to you. 3 versus 1. Not a lot for a final D&D boss, but okay. We are level 8, which is also not that high. We are about to fight a vampire lord at level 8. And you might think, oh, but you took him and his wife. No, he has new tricks. It's worse. The fight's harder. He takes Yvette down. He takes Yukol down. He is on low HP, but we are even lower. The only person left, Gem, 5 HP. He is going down in like 1 more attack, for sure. He has a 45% chance to hit. He only has his trail knife left. We are out of healing items. There is literally no other option but to attack. We roll to attack with that 45% chance. I'm in charge of rolling. It hits. Just about. By 1 point less, it wouldn't have.
When I tell you we cheered, oh, we were sweating, we were afraid. But we did it. If that had failed, it would have been a wipe. It would have been a party wipe. Now. So, Gem to Karj, out of options, last resort, comrades knocked out, about to pass out, takes the trail knife and jumps, and he brings it down on the vampire's face. After he's done turning it into a pulp, he rushes to Yvette's pack and takes the holy water before pouring it on him. Now he's gone for sure. He helps the other ones come back to their senses. They did it. He's dead. He's never going to hurt anybody again. They're weary and tired, but they celebrate. Yvette still has one thing left to do. She ventures out and finds, not too far away, Telsis. She smiles. She promised him, Thusha's dead. He can do whatever he wants. Telsis doesn't even really know how to react. But Yvette makes a suggestion. Come with her. He is reluctant. After all, him and Yvette have a long history. But eventually, she and the party guide Telsies back to Azarain. And to his sister. Thusha's dead. And, by the way, I brought you back your brother. Neither of them know quite what to say, but it is definitely an impactful moment for both. Mulvin is so relieved that Yvette and Yukal are okay. And he needs a minute. They find him at a tavern with Jem, sharing drinks. Neither of them are saying anything, but they're quietly sharing a bottle. It's time to rest. There's still things that need to be done, but now it's time to rest. The church will have to rebuild after the loss of Mulvin. Yvette still has to help every spawn. They're scattered across the country, and some of them might even be dangerous, but she still has to help. But today, they rest.
Okay, hi, hello, welcome to the outro. I hope you enjoyed that. I finally did the thing and finished this instead of pretending that there was going to be another part. This one's a little longer than the other two because, again, I didn't want to have to fake you guys out and be like, oh, there's going to be a part 4 actually. So I just went ahead and finished it, even though it's 10 minutes longer. I don't know if I'll be doing a format like this soon because I've ran out of campaigns that I've been in that feel like they lend themselves to this more dramatic format. I know that I kind of want to do a video exploring a different campaign, but it's a rather convoluted one, and I think doing it like this sort of like almost audio drama-esque thing is not really suited for it. I hope you liked it. If you did, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, all the good stuff. And if you want an artwork of your own, I take commissions over here on Coffee. Other than that, just have a nice weekend.